Good evening and welcome to tonight's news bulletin, coming to you live from this news center of the Sultanate of Oman television. But first, the headlines. His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq issues 2 royal decrees. The 11th five-year development plan targets a growth rate of 4% and focuses on the manufacturing, digital economy and tourism sectors. And the total expenditure in the state general budget for the year 2026 is approximately 12 billion Omani Riyals, while total revenues amounted to 11.5 billion Omani Riyals. Good evening once again, and thank you for joining us. Those were the headlines, and now the news in detail. His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq today issued 2 royal decrees. Royal Decree number 1 over 2026 on approving the 11th five-year development plan 2026-2030. Article 1 approves the 11th five-year development plan 2026-2030, the goals of which are indicated in Annex 1 attached to this decree. Article 2, the 11th five-year development plan shall be implemented in accordance with its economic and financial structure stated in the Annex 2 attached to this decree. Article 3, all units of the state administrative apparatus and other public legal entities shall implement the 11th five-year development plan without prejudice to the provisions of enforced laws and bylaws. Article 4, the Minister of Economy shall issue the strategic programs compendium for the 11th five-year development plan during the first quarter of 2026. The specific projects under the plan shall be determined at the start of each year through coordination between the Ministry of Economy and relevant bodies. Article 5, the Minister of Economy shall undertake the monitoring of the implementation of the strategic programs of the 11th five-year development plan and conduct periodic evaluations, therefore, in light of local, regional and global developments. Article 6, this decree shall be published in the Official Gazette and shall come into force from the 1st of January 2026. Royal Decree number 2 over 2026 on ratifying the State General Budget for the fiscal year 2026. Article 1 ratifies the State General Budget for the fiscal year 2026 in accordance with the attached schedules. Article 2, all units of the state administrative apparatus and other public legal entities shall implement the provisions of this decree, each within the scope of its prerogatives. Article 3, this decree shall be published in the Official Gazette and shall come into effect from 1st of January 2026. The 11th five-year development plan 2026-2030 continues the implementation of Oman Vision 2040. The plan includes additional investments estimated at more than 15.5 billion Omani Riyals directed towards key economic and social sectors to achieve targeted growth rate of 4%. More details coming up in this report.
The 11th five-year development plan, 2026 to 2030, continues the implementation of Oman Vision 2040, aiming to build a diversified, competitive, and sustainable economy and to gradually transition toward a low-carbon economy. The plan adopts a targeted economic growth rate of around 4% at constant prices and seeks to adhere to a fiscal sustainability approach by maintaining public debt within safe limits, diversifying non-oil revenues, strengthening social development, environmental sustainability, governance, and institutional efficiency, in addition to promoting economic decentralization across governorates and improving labor market efficiency and employment opportunities. The plan adopts a flexible implementation mechanism through 3 work programs, the first from 2026 to 2027, the second from 2028 to 2029, followed by a complementary program in 2030. A new track has been introduced in the development budget for economic transformation projects, with 400 million Oman Riyals allocated annually, raising the total allocations for projects to 1.3 billion Oman Riyals under the 11th Five-Year Development Plan. The plan targets a 4.6% growth rate in GDP at current prices, 4% at constant prices, an investment to GDP ratio of 28% at current prices, foreign direct investment inflows equivalent to 11% to GDP, and an inflation rate not exceeding 2%. The plan also targets a 56% contribution of the private sector to GDP at current prices, a 21% ratio of private investment to GDP, as well as achieving a 4% growth rate in non-oil activities at constant prices, and 2.6% for oil activities. The 11th Five-Year Plan focuses on promising sectors that drive economic growth, including manufacturing industries with a targeted growth rate of nearly 6%, the digital economy at about 11%, and tourism at 5.7%. The average targeted growth rates for supporting sectors include food security at more than 4%, fisheries at 5%, mining at more than 6%, transport and logistics at 7%, education at 3%, and health at 3.5%. The 11th Five-Year Development Plan also requires additional investments estimated at 15.6 billion Oman Riyals, directed toward key economic and social sectors with the aim of accelerating the pace of economic growth.
Total public expenditure in the state's general budget for the year 2026 fiscal year amounts to around 12 billion Omani Riyals, marking a 1.5% increase compared to the approved spending for 2025. The Minister of Finance stated that the estimated revenues in the budget, calculated on the basis of an average oil price of $60 per barrel, are expected to reach approximately 11.5 billion Omani Riyals. More in this report.
The Sultanate of Oman's general budget for 2026 sets total public spending at nearly 12 billion Omani Riyals, reflecting a 1.5% increase compared to last year. Total revenues are estimated at approximately 11.4 billion Omani Riyals, calculated on the basis of an average oil price of $60 per barrel, marking growth of more than 2% year on year. The budget projects a manageable deficit and keeps public debt at sustainable levels in line with fiscal discipline. The deficit will be financed through a mix of domestic and external borrowing alongside withdrawals from reserves, with total financing needs for 2026 estimated at about 2.3 billion Omani Riyals. Current expenditure accounts for the largest share of spending, with major allocations directed toward defense and security, civilian ministries, and social protection. Spending under the social protection system has increased, supporting more than 1.6 million citizens. On the revenue side, oil and gas continue to play a central role alongside growing non-oil income. Indicators also point to positive expectations for the Omani economy, with growth projected at 4% in 2026 and inflation remaining at safe levels of 1.4%.
The state's general budget for the fiscal year 2026 includes the implementation and completion of a number of projects and programs that contribute to the development of the national economy in various governorates of the Sultanate of Oman. 1.3 billion Omani Riyals were allocated to development projects and economic transformation in various sectors for the year 2026. More details in this report. The State General Budget for the fiscal year 2026 aims to stimulate economic growth through the implementation of several projects and programs that contribute to the development of the national economy. The education sector received the largest share of expenditure at 40%, followed by social security and welfare at 26%, then health at 25%, and finally the housing sector at 9%. During the first year of the 11th five-year development plan, the government will work to complete the ongoing development project from the previous plan. This year's budget allocates approximately 900 million Omani Rials to development projects and 400 million Omani Rials to economic transformation projects. This includes the handover of 22 new schools, the completion of 42 new schools, and the expansion of several existing schools. Additionally, the College of Law building at Sultan Qaboos University will be constructed, and several branch buildings of universities of technology and applied sciences in various governorates will be renovated. In the health sector, the construction of 6 government hospitals and 9 health institutions and centers was completed. As for the social security and welfare sector, the budget allocated more than 57 million Omani Rials for grants, aid, support and rehabilitation, and allocated approximately 338 million Omani Rials for social insurance programs and approximately 614 million Omani Rials for social protection benefits. Regarding the culture, sports and youth sector, construction work will be completed in the Sayyid Tariq bin Taimur Cultural Complex. Camel racing tracks will be built in various governorates, and sports clubs and complexes will be upgraded. The road sector, the dual carriageway of Sultan Saeed bin Taimur Road, Adam Thamrit, and Sultan Faisal bin Turki Road, Khasab, Diba, Lima, will be completed, along with the expansion of Muscat Expressway, the construction of the Harwib Mitin Road in the Far Governorate, and the Sultan Turki bin Saeed Road, Sharqiya Expressway, Al Kamil Wal Wafi to Sur. Additionally, the dual carriageway of the Farq Heritage District's Nizwa Road and the dual carriageway of the Raisut Al-Mighsail Road will be completed. In the agricultural, fisheries and water resources sector, 6 dams will be constructed. Diba Port will be handed over, and the construction of Hasik and Masira ports will be completed. Several fish landing sites will be also established in various governorates. Regarding the housing sector, the budget includes completing the first phase of the Sultan Haytham City project and the infrastructure for Al Thuraya City, as well as strengthening the housing bank's loan portfolio and the housing program. In the energy and mineral sector, the budget supports the gas processing plant in Musandam governorates. In the industrial sector, the budget includes establishing the industrial cities of As-Suwaiq and Al-Mudhaybi and the Madain industrial complexes in Madha and Mahas. It also includes establishing the Rusail Industrial City Complex and completing the infrastructure development for Sohar Industry City. As for special economic zones and free zones, the state budget aims to complete the commercial pier in Duqm, dualize the main road in Duqm, complete the construction of the fisheries complex in Duqm, and develop the integrated economic zone in Al-Dhahira Governorate and the Al-Rawda economic zone. In the tourism sector, the remaining work on the Oman Botanic Garden project will be completed. The budget for the civil aviation sector focused on issuing a tender for the expansion of the passenger terminal at Sohar Airport, finalizing the strategic projects plan for Oman's airspace, and taking possession of the aircraft maintenance and cargo facilities at Muscat Airport. In the labor sector, support will continue for initiatives to employ job seekers. In the small and medium enterprises SME development sector, support will be provided for loan interest from the Development Bank. The SME Development Initiative will be implemented, and the National Program for Supporting Startups will be completed. The Governorate Development Projects for 2026 2026 include the development of waterfronts, the development and maintenance of public parks, the paving of internal roads, and projects to develop commercial districts in various governorates. This is the Sultanate of Oman television. Before we end tonight's bulletin, here are the main points once again. His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq issues 2 royal decrees. The 11th five-year development plan targets a growth rate of 4% and focuses on the manufacturing, digital economy and tourism sectors. And the total expenditure in the state's general budget for the year 2026 is approximately 12 billion Omani Riyals, while total revenues amounted to 11.5 billion Omani Riyals. And as the Sultanate of Oman steps into 2026, we do so with confidence and stability, guided by the wise leadership of His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq and grounded in the values of peace, unity and progress. From all of us here, we wish you a year filled with safety, prosperity. Good night and peace be upon you all.